Hello everyone, it's Marie again from Skeletorama. Welcome back to my channel. Give it a house shift. How's everybody doing? So I'm doing alright. Obviously been kind of busy at work, so haven't been doing as many videos as I want to do. There's so many that I have a list that I want to do, and this is one of them. So this is going to sort of towards the end feature one of my kits, and so will the next couple of them. So this is my scrolls and charts miniatures kit. And so it's basically designed to make, you know, different things you would find on desks or in a mad scientist lab, you know, go figure, and some different little charts and things. And probably one of my favorites are the poison labels here, which will be a separate video. We're going to do how to make the little miniature bottles, which would be fun. But this one we're going to use this kit here, and we're also going to use a kit from AlphaStamps. So what this is it's the Gypsy Soul Laser Cuts kit to make a 1/12 scale secretary, so like a writing desk, like a Victorian writing desk. So it should be fun. And I've got the kit here. Of course, since it's laser cut, first thing you do is you wipe off the edges, because geez, look at that, that's just that. But that's the way the laser cuts it. It kind of creates this ash on there, and so you just wipe it off. But we're going to do that, and then unlike kind of normal, we're going to use a different kit to cover it. Now this is done by Laura Carson. She's Artfully Musing. It should have her, okay, one would think it would, here we go. Artfully Musing. Anyways, I will have a link to her website and blog post about this below, because the bummer with both of these things is neither of them have instructions, right? So if you've put a bunch of these together, you can kind of figure out, you know, what goes where or what have you. But like with this, you know, when I look at this, I would think, oh, you're going to use this kind of as a paper to cover the shelves. Let's say this is the shelf. But that's an awful lot of paper. Well, that's not quite the way she does it. So you have to read the blog post for that. And the blog post is in a link that's in a link to the blog and another. It's like 3 links away. So that's a lot of links. But at any rate, that's, yeah. So I went to it. What I did instead is I took, and where did I put it? Yay for Photoshop. So I took some pictures off of the blog post itself and put them on a sheet of paper for reference. It would be great if these kind of kits would at least come with something that says what the heck these pieces are, right? You know, just like a schematic or something that says, oh, these are for the drawer unit. I wouldn't have known that versus the bottom versus whatever, but is what it is. And so that way I have a picture of the finished piece, so I know what I'm doing with it, and hopefully won't destroy it. In theory I won't. So we've got that to work with, and then this reference gives you a reference of how she did her piece. So like this, for example, she has these as drawers. Well, these don't come with any kind of actual drawer. You can make them. But what she has here is you basically make these into a box and put the box in there to make it look like it has drawers. Well, why would I do that? Because I want to put a bunch of stuff in there. So we're going to skip the drawers part. Same with this little part in here. We're going to skip the little drawers, even though they're very cute, because I want to be able to put things in there. So there's that part there. And then what I was also thinking is, you know, I really like this. This is really cute. I wonder if I can make this out of wood, right? So that's what we're going to experiment with. That won't be in the same video because we're not going there again, where I have a 17-hour long video that has to be 64 parts and an intermission and whatever. But I took the pieces and I traced them onto here. So the video that follows this one, we're going to take this and see if we can use these to make this out of wood. So that'll be part 2. You know, hopefully this won't have a part 2. But anyway, so that's the plans, the big overall plans for that. And then we will be making some stuff to go in it. So yeah, you know, it probably will be 2, because to make the stuff, right? But I'll show you how to make the little scrolls and things that I do, which are a lot of fun. Let me go grab an example of them. So, you know, God forbid I have this stuff together ahead of time. So this is the desk from the study, from the Mad Scientist lab. And so here I've taken these and I've made them into little scrolls. And of course I glued them together in a little pile. This one I've made it into a fancy one by making little ends, and we'll do some of those. The rest of them I've done like a little packet of letters. Some of them I have folded on the desk. This, I folded it as if it were a letter, you know, so it shows those folds, but it's just kind of sitting loose there. And on this, let's take everything off, because you know I'm going to dump it off of there. And yeah, I'm real good with dusting. Look at me dust. Okay. If you open the little drawers of the desk, I've lined them with scrapbook paper. And so they have, get it so you can see it, they have little things. So they have little packets of letters as well, and little folded up letters. So we'll do a bunch of stuff like that for the secretary as well, because I'm not sure if that's going to go somewhere in the Mad Scientist lab or if it's going to be set aside for the new house that I'm going to do. Because I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do a theme with that one or if I'm just going to do my usual aesthetic, which is, you know, Victorian funeral parlor meets French bordello from the Belle Epoque period, you know, that sort of thing. So it's going to be very gauche and very, very interesting. So I think this kind of a secretary, especially with, you know, if we use this, or maybe we'll use the wood, would go really good in there, because it'd be just over the top ridiculous. So, all right, let me put some of the stuff away here. Alrighty, so we're down to just the stuff we need to make the secretary. And who knows, if I can make it in a decent amount of time, maybe I'll do, you know, I'll speed up gluing things together, etc., etc. We can get to the little scrolls and things and not have to do a separate one, but I have a feeling it's going to be a separate one, because I don't ever do anything quickly. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut these pieces out, because usually with these sorts of things, it's much easier to put the paper on before you put it together. But with these, I'm thinking what these are is they're going to go, you know, over the shelf, and it's going to get one of the shelves behind it. So we'll kind of have to see what the best way to do that'll be. So, but it's going to start with me cutting the pieces out. So I'm going to do that, and I'll come back to you. We got a reference photo here, and we will be good to go. So I've cut all the pieces out from the sheet, and there were a few of them that had like a little, you know, thing saying what they were. So I did very lightly in pencil, you know, write on here what it was on the back, because the back's not going to show. And then I did go ahead and do the little drawer things anyway, so I can fold them up and at least show you guys how they go in there in case you want to get this kit and do it, and buy the, because this is separate, this little kit to cover it, and that way if you want to use them you can. So and then of course these, I had left the white in there thinking, okay, I'll just cut it out as I go around it, forgetting about these, which are mullions, which I can't ever think about mullions without thinking of one of my favorite shows, which is called Horrible Histories. It's a British show. It's ostensibly for kids, but it's absolutely hysterical. And they have like skits that they'll do where, you know, like King John has a computer and he's talking on, and he's getting email and things, and their version of Windows is called mullions, which I thought was pretty funny. But I'm like, yeah, I can't cut that out because those are going to be in the way. These are also going to be real fun when we try to translate this into wood, but I think I have an idea about that. But anyway, so got the pieces cut out, so we're going to set these to the side. I went ahead and I inked around them with the Distress ink and Vintage Photo just to hide the white paper core edges of them. And I did that so I wouldn't bore you guys by doing that while you're watching. Alright, so we've got our reference photo here, and this is the most helpful because it actually has some of the pieces laid out and what they are. So let's go ahead and lay these out and kind of see what we've got here. So we've got the back, and you can tell that this is going to be the top versus the bottom, because the bottom has the drawers, and they're a lot wider. So these are down here, and then the shelves are going to be a lot thinner. But regardless, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put a little T up there for top, just so I don't get confused at some point. And it's also helpful when you're going to put paper on things to, you know, have the right side to put the paper on and whatnot anyway. But okay, so we've got our two side pieces here. And with these and looking at them, obviously the side pieces we're going to put on after it's put together. But I think we're going to put all the pieces on after we put it together. It would just be a lot easier. Okay, so we've got those. We're going to have our little doors here and here, and let's see, they probably, if we had them backwards, this way, we're going to have our little trim pieces here and here. Okay, now I just got to figure out what all this stuff is here. So yeah, and this is the one piece she doesn't have on there. I think this is the piece that sticks out. So yeah, this must be the piece that sticks out that's also the cover for it. So we'll put that to the side over here. Alright, so we've got these three pieces, and put them together and they look exactly the same. So that just made life much easier. So we can use one for the bottom, one for the middle drawer, and one for the top drawer piece. So let's see if we're lucky enough for this stuff to do that too. Woo! Okay, so we've got one that has the holes in it. That's going to be for these little guys, for this part in the center where it kind of has the little small drawer openings. So that, I imagine, is going to go, oh, okay. This will be like this here, and then this will be shorter here, so these little guys can go in here. Okay, so that makes sense. And since these three are all the same as well, they can be these three. We don't have to worry about which one's the top or whatever. So, cool. That just got a little bit easier. So now, when we put this together, kind of dry fit it, we'll go ahead and set these like this so we can sort of see. That's not going to stay. Neither will the top, so we'll just kind of stick these in here. All right. Put that there, put that there. Okay, so if we look at the reference photo here, I'll bring it up a little closer for you. The edges here are gold, and obviously the paper pieces are not going to go around the edges, which is good. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the edges. First we're going to do in black gesso, and then we're going to do them in gold. So we have a couple options, and I'll think about it as I paint them. But we can either paint this in gold, or I do have like the leaf, not real gold leaf obviously, but like the metallic leaf stuff, which I think would be better because that's going to be a lot more of a true metallic reflection to it. So we'll take a look at that, and you know, once we get all this stuff done, see if that might be too much of a pain or would that be cool. I don't know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this, and on these pieces here, so these are going to slot in this way. We only want to do the outer edges, I think. Although, you know, it'd probably be a good idea to just paint all the surfaces black, just in case the paper doesn't quite fit, so it's not this color behind it. It'll at least blend in. But you don't want to do the little tabs, so we don't need to do any of the tabs that are sticking out or any of this stuff here. So it'll be just this surface here in the front and this surface here. With the back, it would just be the face of this without the tabs, face of this. Same with this here. You know, make sure we've got one facing one way, one facing the other way, and just do the sides and the top. That way we leave the bottom raw, so it'll stick to whatever surface a little bit easier than it would with, say, the gesso necessarily. So with these here, yeah, it'll just be the edge in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on fast forward, and I'm going to start gessoing all the things, and then I will come back to you, and that's going to be a big pain in the butt, but come back to you in just a minute. All right, so not too bad. We did have one casualty. This used to be a palette knife, you know, like this, and my gesso it's a bit old, and you know, I really need to get some new gesso. So this stuff's the consistency of like pudding that you've left out for a few hours, and so it's gotten even more thick and ridiculous. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put some water in here because that should thin it out, and I'll stir it around with that palette, and I got about 3 stirs around, snap. So anyways, that was super fun, but we've got everything gessoed. So when I was doing these different parts, the thing I tried to do is keep out of here, so if a little bit got in there, which it does, I tried to get it out. Tried to avoid the tabs, not always terribly successful with that, because again, with that gesso being that thick, it makes it a lot harder to do stuff. But with these larger pieces, since this is chipboard, it's a really, really thick chipboard, but it's going to behave kind of like paper does. So when you do one side, it'll tend to start to warp, which is why you want to turn over and do the other side as soon as this is dry enough for you to be able to lay back down. So anyways, we've got these gessoed. So I am going to get stuff cleaned up a little bit, let this stuff dry, and then we will figure out what we want to do for all the edges. All right, so here's what we're going to use. These are gilding flakes. These are the Nouveau ones. There's tons of people that make them. So they're like metal flakes, and these things are a mess. Big mess. So I'm going to open this very slit, just opening this. See, I've already got gilding flakes starting to go everywhere. See those? So that's what we're going to use on it. It's going to work just like gold leaf does. Yeah, see, look at that. It's already everywhere. But, you know, at a fraction of the cost, right? So in order to put gilding flakes onto things, God, seriously, go away. You need glue. So you can use like score tape, like the double-sided tape, if you're going to do, say, a line of a specific width that you want. That's probably the easiest, less messy way, but what we're going to use is gilding glue. So this is by Prima. It's the Art Extravagance Gilding Glue, and it dries fairly slowly. So what you want to do is you want to put it on wherever you want the flakes to stick. So in our case, it's going to be just the very edge of this, right? Which is always difficult to do with a paintbrush anyway, but we're going to try. And then you let it dry. And then once it gets kind of tacky, that's when you put the gilding flakes on. So that's what I'm going to do. And luckily, we don't have to do anything with this because this is going to be in the back. So none of the edges of this will really show. But these different ones will. And then with this, in the reference picture here, I think she maybe have painted those gold. You know what? I think we're just going to paint those gold because the thought of doing gilding flakes on the mullions just makes me anxious. However, these and the edges of these we do want to do with that. So what I've got here is I've got just a piece of plastic from the garbage. And I'm going to put the glue down on this, and I'm just going to brush it on the edges of everything. And if I can get it out of the bottle, do I have to cut that? I don't know, I haven't used this yet. We'll find out. Anyways, so yep, I sure do. Lovely. All right, let's try that one more time. There we go. Is it gonna come out? No. Okay, so for whatever reason, this must have gotten like a hole in it because this stuff is coming out like, I don't know, like half-dried foam. And there's like nothing in there. So some did come out kind of like as this foamy stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can paint the edges of it with that, and we'll see if that works. Otherwise I'll have to find something else because the way it's coming out, there's no way I could possibly paint with that. So yeah, there we go. We'll try this. If not, I'll try a different glue. I do have other glues that'll work as a medium for holding gilding flakes on. But okay, so I'm going to paint the edges of this. Wish me luck. It's definitely sticky. Alright, so I've got that on there. I went and washed my hands. I still have cat fur stuck to me everywhere. I love that. So I don't know if this is going to be sticky enough to do what it needs to do, because that was basically just like a little bit of liquid that came out of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these up here so they can dry. Jesus Christ, really? So we're going to be smart. So when I use these, I generally will use like a box lid or something so that it doesn't get everywhere, because they will get everywhere anyway. But that way I can do any of the gilding stuff in the box, and in theory maybe have a chance of getting the stuff back in the container. So we're going to take the smallest one. We're going to grab some of this and we're going to see how that worked. Did it work? Okay, and the answer is not very well. So that's why I wanted to know that before I tried to do that to the larger pieces. So here's what we're going to do instead. Put this away. All right, I'm going to get something that I know will work. So this is Tombow Mono Multi Liquid Glue, and it's either permanent or temporary depending on how you use it. So if you put the glue on and you put the two things together while it's still wet and let it dry, it's permanent. If you put the glue on and let the glue dry, then it becomes temporary, I guess, or whatever, but it works great for gilding stuff. So we're going to try this because that other stuff just did not work. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back over these and I'm going to do the edges of it, including going back over this, and then we'll wait for this to dry, and then I will come back to you so we can put the gilding flakes on. All right, so these have had a few minutes to dry, and I think I might be mellowed from every craft supply plus everyone in my house pissing me off in the last 20 minutes. So we'll see how this goes. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure they won't like burst into flames. So anyways, we're going to take this off and be very gentle. Even if you have like your air conditioner on, it kicks in, it'll go woof everywhere. Okay, so you can see here that these are nice and sticky, because see how I'm not even holding that. It's clear. There's still a couple little white spots, so we're going to leave these two pieces for last anyway, just because they're going to be the most sticky mess. So we're just going to grab our small one again, and we're going to take our gilding flakes. We're going to put these on here and press them into this. And it's going to go on the edge just a little bit, only because, you know, with the brush I had a hard time doing that. And you're going to take like a stencil brush. You don't want to do this too aggressively, but you do want to do it so that it gets it nice and flattened. Okay, see how that sticks versus how that other stuff did? Huge difference. Okay, so we're going to take this and set this down. We're going to do this to all these different pieces. So I will fast forward through me doing this, and then when we get to the windows, I'll probably put it back to regular speed so that you guys can see that. But yeah, just kind of rub the stuff in there, make sure all the surface got covered. Rub it in there real good, and then I use a stencil brush to kind of knock the excess off. And we'll just get most of the excess off, and then we'll kind of fine tune these at the end once everything's covered. Okay, so we've got the gilding flakes on everything, and we are going to let them kind of sit and dry a little bit because, you know, of course the glue is tacky. We're going to let it fully kind of bond with it. And then we'll go over, I've got a stiffer stencil brush, we'll go over it with that, burnish it real good. And then any places we missed, because I noticed like on this frame, I think it is, no, it's this one. There's just the tiniest bit, see where it's still kind of black. So once we've gotten everything and it's nice and smooth and shiny, then we'll go back over any places where we're still seeing black, and we'll get the piece of the brush bristle off of there. And then we can go back over those with the glue. So I'm going to leave just this bit in here, and then when everything's good, then this will get thrown away. So I will join you guys back in just a few minutes. Okay, so in theory, these are set enough. A lot of people will, you know, say, oh, use a very soft brush on them. Once your glue is nice and dry and bonded in there, and it's bonded to this stuff, the brush isn't going to hurt it. It actually will make it a lot smoother. So what I'm going to use for that is this stencil brush that's got a lot more dense bristles to it. And so I'm going to take each of these pieces and I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to really, you know, I'm not doing it too hard. I'm not trying to scrub it off or anything, but I want to get any of the little loose bits that are sticking up off. Okay, so see how nice and smooth that is? Hopefully you can see that. And the really funny thing is, I know I have gilding flakes stuck to my nails, but my nail polish is the same color. It's just bizarre because I can see them. But yeah, anyway, so I'm going to do that with all of these, and then we'll find if they don't have anything that needs to be redone, it's going to go over here on this pile. And if it does, we'll kind of keep it over in this way, and then we'll knock out the rest of this. So, and yeah, it's a shame. I'm sure this would have been great, because you can kind of see it. Can you see it in there? It's just like this solid mass. So something happened with it, and it was not the cheapest stuff ever, but it's pretty much shot. So lesson learned, I will just stick with using the Tombow because this stuff always works. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do these, and then and put it on fast forward, and I will come back and we'll see how many we need to do extra stuff to. And I'll just stop for a second with the fast forward to show you, see the difference? So this one has still tons of fuzzy stuff on it, and this one is nice and smooth. And this is, you know, this is the back. We didn't need to do that part, but this one we will have to do some more stuff to. And then of course I forgot that this piece is the one that's like that desk bit, so I need to do the two short edges too. So anyways, I'll get to cleaning this one off, and then we will hit the extra stuff. Okay, so that's about as good as we got, and we should have enough in the little extra bits that came off to do the parts that we missed. So I'm going to do that and get these, you know, fixed and dry and burnish them off with this, and I'll be back to you when we're ready to put this together. All right, so we have cleaned all this stuff up, and I remembered, I was like, oh, I need to paint the mullions on here, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, these have to be gilded too. So I went ahead and did these edges. The actual mullions themselves, those were just Metalique ancient coin paint, because it was just a lot easier. And yeah, of course I went over the edges, but it doesn't matter because we're going to have that piece that's going to go over it. So what we're going to do now is we are going to start putting this together. So the easiest way to do it is to start with the interior shelves and go one by one by one by one, and then put the top and the bottom on, and then put the two sides on, just because of the way they all slot into each other with these little things. So I'm going to use regular glue for that. It is the Scotch Create tacky glue, and I ordered this online and got it, and I'm like, that's the littlest bottle of this ever, and I've probably paid as much as I did for this. So yeah, I really need to pay attention to how many fluid ounces are in these things. Might be a good idea. Anyway, so I have them in my little small bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along, because basically these will fit in like so. Sure they will. So the tabs go in these little slots here, like this. And they're going to stick straight up. So I'm going to put glue probably along the line of this just to make it easier, and then a little tiny bit on each of the tabs. I'm going to do that for all these ones down here, and when we get to these little center ones, I'll bring it off of fast forward so that I can go over kind of it's a little trickier to get those parts in there. Actually, for that I may want to just put them together this way first and then put them in. I think that's what I'll do, because otherwise, you can get these in there, but whenever you're hitting that kind of corner thing, if I've got this in here and I'm trying to get this in 2 spots, it is a little bit trickier. So, all right, let me grab a couple things, and I'm going to put it on fast forward, and I will go ahead and glue these like this, and then I will come back to you. Like I said, it's a real pain in the butt to try to get it in when they're both in there like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this, let this dry for just a second, just to kind of grab it, because yeah, these things it's probably one of the trickier parts is getting these in here, because you have to get all the tabs all lined up all at the same time, and it's just a royal pain in the butt. So we're going to just give this a second to grab, and then I will do it again. So I think for this, because what's going to happen when I put the top and bottom on is they're going to want to flop over. I'm going to go ahead and do the sides first, I think. So those will just go on like this, and of course all the little tabs will go in all the little slots and whatnot. And it does usually take a little bit of wiggling and stuff, but I will do that next, I believe. Okay, so there we have it. So the main structure is put together. So we are going to let that set up a bit before we start doing some other stuff to it, like for the back. So you can see where all of these have come in since we didn't do the ends of them. You know, you can see the brown. We're going to do the back of it all just one solid color because in theory you're not going to see it, but it would bug me if I knew that it wasn't like that. So we're going to do that, and then we will start messing about with the papers and things like that from the kit. So see you guys back in a few minutes. All right, so I've painted the back with 2 coats, so it looks a lot less splotchy now. And I went ahead and did the underside. I was going to do the top side, then I realized there is a, you know, one of these pieces for it, so we don't have to do that. I thought to myself, that's going to look kind of weird just sitting on the ground like that. What did she actually do? Well, she had added some box feet, right? And that's what earlier I was looking for the box feet for, and I couldn't find. The only ones I can find are these, and these just do not work for this. I mean, they're cool and all, but they just not quite, right? So I thought, crud, I don't have any box feet, and I'm not gonna go to the store right now and get some box feet, so what can I do? Well, I had some crown molding left from when I did the dollhouse. I thought, you know, why don't I take this, and I've got my little miter box thing, and my saw, and so I knocked everything over, really, come on. So what I did was I took it and I measured about a ½ inch, and I mitered it. And then I took it next to this one here and marked it, you know, the length of it, and mitered it again so that they would both go together like this. Okay, and so what I've done is I've made my own box feet, because these will kind of go with this, right? So they can just sit on here. I mean, they're not going to be God's gift box feet, you know, they're kind of plain, but it's better than, you know, having something that really doesn't fit the piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gesso these, and I'm going to paint them brown, same color as the back of this. So I will speed it up as I gesso them, because as you know, my gesso has been so cooperative today. So hopefully it'll start working. So here we have it. We have our little faux box feet. So once we get everything on there, we'll put these on, kind of see how they look, because of course as I'm painting these, I'm thinking, you know, I should put the gilding flakes on it. And then I immediately thought, you know, I should shut my face, because that was a pain for everything else and I don't want to do it for this. But knowing me, I'll probably be like, oh, you know, it looks so cute. So we'll see. But for now, we're going to sit these to the side before I get myself into more extra stuff that I didn't intend to do, like I always do. And we will turn our attention to the main piece. Okay, so after editing all the video together, of course, this thing comes out to like an hour and a half. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here and kind of cut it roughly in half. So there's more coming in part 2, which I will upload, you know, on the same day. So that way, if you want to watch the whole thing, you can. You have the choice. So I will see you in part 2 then. Okay, Bye.